What's one thing a doctor told you that you've never forgotten? Story 1. It wasn't to me, but I was in the room because I was accompanying my mom to all her appointments. Her surgeon basically told her, "You're right, there's a problem, but we can fix it," and she burst into tears of happiness. She'd been dealing with abdominal cramping and pain for almost 10 years. It started out mild and had gotten progressively worse, to the point where when it hit, she would be in tears, hunched over, unable to eat or move. A bunch of doctors had diagnosed and treated her for various things that did nothing for the pain, and eventually most of them told her to get a psych evaluation because it was all in her head. Finally, she convinced a surgeon to do exploratory surgery with a camera. Turns out it wasn't in her head. She had been born with a condition where her large intestine wasn't attached to her abdominal wall the way it was supposed to be. Over the years, it had shifted and coiled around her small intestine, appendix, and colon, starting to cut off circulation and cause cell death. They ended up removing about 6 to 7 inches of her large intestine, her appendix, and a large part of her small intestine. Just like that, poof, all her abdominal pain was gone. Story 2. I was generally an anxious, crying disaster during a PAP, biopsy, IUD, and post-baby lady parts process of complete nonsense. I apologize for being a mess to my male OBGYN and his medical assistant, who in my eyes had gone to great lengths to calm me down and talk me through the pain, anxiety, and everything else. I feel pretty comfortable with them since it's the same team that delivered both of my babies. He said, "If I accomplish anything in this career, I hope it's getting women to stop apologizing for how they react to having to deal with all the shit they have to deal with." The same doctor also told me, when I was facing a few different reproductive scenarios, "I will do whatever you want me to do. It's your body. My job is to answer your questions, give you the facts, and when you make your decision, I will have your back 100%. He has done many things to improve my outlook and help me learn to advocate for myself in our garbage healthcare system. But those moments really stand out. I compare all other doctors to him." Story 3. I was only 7 when I came down with a horrible fever, stomach pain, and vomiting that lasted for 4 or 5 days. My mom and dad finally took me to the hospital. I couldn't even get water past my lips without throwing it up. I was dehydrated, the pain was relentless, and I writhed in bed moaning and crying. They put me on N4 and x-rayed me for hours and days, trying to find an obstruction or something. I stayed in the hospital for 4 weeks, lost half my body weight, and at one point they even told my parents I might not make it if I couldn't start eating. Then one morning I woke up, looked at my mom, and said, "I'm hungry." You should have seen her face, split into the biggest smile of joy. Whatever I had was over. Many years later, it was thought to have been some unknown virus. They sent me home, and a week later at the follow-up, the doctor patted me on the head and told my mother, "Your daughter was obviously faking, and the next time she complains about a stomach ache, get a switch after her and send her back to school." My mother slapped him. I swear I'm not making this up. It was 1972. Things were different. I've always thought he was so pompous that he just didn't want to admit he didn't know. Story 4. I had an ectopic rupture during my first pregnancy. After explaining to my husband the fastest roads to take to the hospital for emergency surgery, my doctor took a moment to gently hold my hand and said, "Okay, we're gonna go save your life now." He was the greatest doctor I've ever had. I'll never forget how calming his voice was, even while I was actively dying. I'll always be grateful to him. Story 5. I went to a new dentist because I needed a cleaning and had horrible tooth pain. They gave me the cleaning, prescribed some fancy toothpaste, and said there was nothing wrong with my tooth. The toothpaste was just to make me feel better. A few months later, I went back because of the same horrible pain. By a stroke of luck, my regular dentist was out of the office and another dentist saw me. She listened, took x-rays, and found I needed a root canal. A few weeks later, I was back for the root canal, and the first dentist was the one doing it. He asked, "How long have you been in pain?" I said, "Years," but no dentist would ever listen to me. He had the gall to say, "Well, I'm glad you're here now, because we always listen." I wanted to slap him. I had told him so many times, and he never listened. It literally took going to a different dentist for anyone in his office to hear me. I got the root canal and then switched to a different dental office where, once in passing, I mentioned some pain and they immediately listened. Story 6. When I was 14 or 15, I was in a hospital and a neurologist I'd never met before, probably the one on call at the time, came into my room. She picked up the chart at the end of my bed, looked it over, then looked at me and said, "You're fat. That's why you're in pain." My mom practically chased her out of the room while I dissolved into tears. For several years, I had been dealing with joint pain that had gone undiagnosed. During that time, I gained a little weight because I was having trouble even getting around, let alone exercising. I was barely overweight, but that comment made me feel like a whale. When I was in college, I finally got a diagnosis for my pain, and it had absolutely nothing to do with my weight. I already knew that since I was a normal weight when it first started, but I will never forget what that awful woman said. The fact that she was a doctor at a pediatric hospital made it even worse. I can't imagine how many kids she damaged with her attitude and words. Story 7. German healthcare. 8 years ago, you would have found me in the hospital. My alcoholism and depression had sent me there indirectly. A broken hip after my infected leg had given out, and I'd fallen in my restroom. It still took 2 more days before my body refused to function, except for a few vital things. I had pneumonia, was close to losing my left leg, had the beginnings of liver cirrhosis, and was experiencing hallucination from sleeping meds and alcohol withdrawal. I went cold turkey, and even under medical supervision, it was hell. I spent 6 weeks in the hospital. In the last 3 days, the longing for alcohol returned. I started thinking about how to get my beloved beer. I couldn't drive. There was, and still is, no Uber or similar where I live. I wasn't married, and my mother lived next door, but would have given me hell and not helped me. Then, on the Sunday before I left the hospital, an angel appeared at the foot of my bed. As it turned out, it was the station's medic. She wouldn't be in the next day, so she had decided to come on her free day to talk sense into me. After she finished, I cried for 6 hours. When I finally stopped crying, I decided to give up alcohol, which I did. The sentences that saved my life were, "If you continue drinking where you left off when you came here, you'll be dead in 2 years." And the most important one, "I want you to live." Story 8. 7 years ago, I had a nervous breakdown. Anyone who's been through one will tell you, it's incredibly difficult to pinpoint what's actually happening. Between what feels like random heart attacks, flickering vision, a complete feeling of dissociation, and general numbness, one of the awful symptoms I had, as a man who just started a new relationship, was a real loss of libido, and when I was in the mood, the inability to maintain an erection. For weeks I had doctor's appointments, blood tests, and physical exams, all with female doctors, and I was too embarrassed to mention that last symptom until I finally saw a male doctor and worked up the courage to say it. His response? "Well, that will start happening at your age." I was 28. The way he brushed it off like it hadn't been eating away at me for weeks made me want to stand up and punch him in the mouth. I can safely say it wasn't an age issue, and my fiancé will tell you I'm doing a lot better now. Fuck you, doc. Story 9. A conversation between me and a family doctor I'd had since I was a kid. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'll never forget what she told me. She was an absolute sweetheart. Me, "I'm working on losing weight." DR, "Oh, may I ask how and why?" "Change of diet? Exercise?" Me, "I just feel a little fat, I guess. I think other people at school think so too. Girls in the locker room sometimes give me looks. Not sure if they're being mean or if I'm just self-conscious, but I wanted to work on losing weight anyway." DR, "You're a little overweight, but it's not impacting your health from what we see. It's fine to lose weight if you feel the need to, but honestly, you're the healthiest patient I've seen today. You've always been healthy." Me, "I don't look fat to you? I just assumed because I have rolls when I sit down and feel a little pudgy." DR, "Han, we all have those belly rolls, even lean people. Even those girls in your class. I'm not here to tell you that you have to be skinny to be healthy. It's perfectly fine to have a little fat on your body. If you're working on losing weight because you want to, you go, girl. But don't feel the need to change how you look because someone is judging you. You're beautiful. Just wanted you to know that. You're a beautiful, healthy young lady. That's what your doctor is telling you, not some girl from your gym class. She was always so sweet to my sister and me. She retired years ago, but visiting her office for yearly checkups was like seeing a kind grandmother who always listened and knew exactly what you needed. It was also reassuring to hear from a doctor that being a little chubby wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I've maintained a good diet most of my life, and it always reflected well at the doctor's office. My family has always struggled with weight and body fat, and genetics definitely play a big role in where fat builds up on your body, making it really difficult to lose. Her calling me beautiful was so unexpected that I just gave her a big hug. I think I really needed someone to say that, and she was there for me. Story 10. Not in a good way. 2 experiences. The first one, when I was in my early 20s, I went to a doctor because despite doing deep water high-intensity aerobics 5 times a week, running several times a week, walking everywhere since I didn't drive, and eating a fairly strict diet, I had put on 2 dress sizes over the summer. The doctor said it was just genetics and told me to accept it. He ran no tests, and I don't think he even examined me. 20 years later, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, an autoimmune condition affecting the thyroid, and thyroid cancer. One of the key symptoms is its impact on metabolism, which typically results in unexpected weight gain. The second case, I wasn't the patient, my partner was. He had been having dissociative episodes and was sent to see a psychiatrist. The psych diagnosed him with bipolar disorder and put him on lithium. The doctor even wrote me a personal letter saying that I was enabling him and that I wasn't his mother. Nearly a decade later, my partner was diagnosed with severe obstructive sleep apnea. The dissociative episodes were from oxygen deprivation. The lithium caused significant weight gain and worsened his depression, which accelerated the progression of the apnea. He required multiple surgeries to open up his airways and to lose the weight. He has huge gaps in his memory from that period because the lack of sleep and oxygen blocked his ability to form long-term memories. I would come home from work to find him passed out randomly around the house, with no idea how long he had been there. I thought I was going to have to stop working because he basically needed a full-time caregiver. But sure, I was enabling him. I don't remember that doctor's name, but I sure hope he's no longer practicing. Story 11. I was sick with diarrhea for over a month and couldn't eat. Eventually, I ended up in the ER. They diagnosed me with intestinal issues. I went to a gastroenterologist, had a colonoscopy, and found out my intestine was badly inflamed. I was hospitalized for over a week, given all sorts of antibiotics and antivirals, tested for tuberculosis, tested for HIV, still don't know why, and was prescribed an anti-inflammatory biologic. It was basically something you inject yourself with, kind of like an EpiPen, except it contained antibodies or something similar. I didn't fully understand it. Before I could start taking it, they had to make sure I wasn't infected with anything since it was an immunosuppressant and could have been dangerous. The doctors were convinced I had some kind of infection. They tried all sorts of treatments. After days of running in circles and multiple hospital stays, a very short Indian man came in with 2 other doctors and said to me, I told them that if they think it's an infection, then prove it. Turns out it wasn't an infection, and I was cleared to start the anti-inflammatory injections. They made my symptoms go away. I still think of that final doctor as Master Yoda, coming in to lay down the law after a bunch of Jedi had been messing around and not getting anything done. I don't even know his name. Story 12. I went to my first OB/GYN appointment at age 23, a little later than recommended, because I had intense religious trauma and shame around my body. And I was basically told I only had to go to the OB/GYN if I was a slut. I only went to get birth control since I was finally trying to overcome some of the shame and be sexually active with my boyfriend of 2 years. It was a male OB/GYN, the first office my insurance would cover, so I went with it. The woman at the desk even said he had great rapport and everyone loved him, but he was so pushy. He kept pressuring me to get a pap smear, breast exam, etc., even though I was visibly uncomfortable. I know it's good to be safe, but breast or cervical cancer don't run in my family, and I didn't seem high risk, yet he put so much pressure on me. And he doesn't have a vagina, so he doesn't know how invasive those procedures feel. I somehow managed to get out of there with only the breast exam done, which was still incredibly invasive after his pressure. If I tried a pap smear, I don't think it would have been physically possible with how nervous I was. Looking back, I should have stood up for myself and told him off, but I was young, naive, and ashamed. I found a different OB/GYN after that, an all-female office that took the time to sit down with me, listen to my worries with empathy, explain the benefits of the procedures without pressuring me, show me the tools, and tell me they would stop whenever I asked. They said I could bring someone, listen to music, or use medication to feel more comfortable. I'll never forget how different and supportive that experience was. I wish I had told that original doctor off. I was furious then, and I still am when I think about how he handled me. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, activate the notification bell, and share a similar story or anything you'd like to say in the comments. See you next time.